All right. All right, we'll get started. Step one today, review minutes. So take a look at your minutes here.
Where's that? Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Representative Damon.
thank you. So in the midsection of page one, the first bullet point says most schools are now being started by teachers, one thing October 5th. That was objected to as not being factual, that most of them were being started by teachers.
Well, not originally, right? But they said now, no? Is that not true? Anybody want to, anybody know? Go ahead.
Sorry.
The question is, today, when people start charter schools, is it mostly teachers? Is it mostly parents? Is it, does anybody know?
So it was stated.
I mean, we could just take it out, I guess.
I don't think that's accurate. It was that statement was made in the meeting and then it was rebutted as not being true
When was it rebutted?
in the meeting.
Well, I don't remember that.
I think if I remember correctly, the two people who were sitting in the front row and then came up to the table who were our leaders of charter schools, it was one of them initially who said, no, that's not true. And that, I believe, is when she came to the mic.
Oh, okay.
I could, let me see, I might be able to tell from those. Hang on, what day was it? October 23rd? So many notes.
We could find out by watching the.
Right. I mean, I just want it to be accurate, that's all.
Okay. Why don't we just, should we put an asterisk by this? And say, disputed or something like that?
Sure.
You want to do that?
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? One that I remember was one of the school principals or leaders gave a number for how much money their school raised in donations. And I don't see that number in here. I thought it was like $3,000 a kid or something.
This is not a transcript, this is notes.
I know.
Doesn't say it.
No, I thought that was kind of interesting.
But it may be interesting, but it's
Right.
it's on the
Okay.
it's on the tape.
All right, it's on the tape. All right, any other changes? Seeing none, anybody want to move that we accept it as amended? Okay, Representative Leon, second.
I'll second.
Okay, second. You weren't there.
Who moved? Who moved it?
Oh, you're right, I wasn't there.
Representative Dry, how about that?
Oh, I wrote them.
You wrote them?
Yeah.
All right, then I'll second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Any abstained?
Really sure.
Okay, all right, our two senators will abstain. All right, great. Next. Let me just show you, I handed out two extra pieces of information that I don't think have been handed out in the past that I used to help write the report. And so therefore I wanted to at least explain them. And the first one, let's just start with the one-page thing with all the spreadsheet. So this is a table that the census, U.S. Census composes every year. And it's about, it's from a big document that has all kinds of education, spending and revenue data, right? So it's all about
Census.
the Census Department, Bureau, I guess, yeah, Census Bureau. And so the link to the whole document is in our report. But I just wanted, this is the key page, which is per pupil spending on all different categories of spending. So not just total, but there is a total on the left-hand column, but also salaries, benefits, other instruction costs, administrative costs, student support, etc. I assume student support is things like counselors and stuff like that. But the key one that we are become interested in is general administration and school administration. So school administration is the administration at the local level, and general administration is the administration at the higher level. Okay, and and I also had another form of this where I put an extra column at the end where I added the last two columns so you can have total administration. But in any case, I highlighted New Hampshire here. And you can see that New Hampshire is spending a little over $2,000 a kid on administration. And it turns out if you did this calculation in each spot, and you don't count District of Columbia. District of Columbia is one of these things that's like way off the chart on all of these numbers. They spend an incredible amount on schools, way higher than number 2, which is Vermont, right? But in any case, I'm sorry, not Vermont, New Jersey. New Jersey and Vermont are similar. But in any case, as far as states go, New Hampshire is second on administrative costs to Vermont. Okay. And it's like close to 70% higher than national average. So it's way high on administrative costs, but on total costs, we are 6th of the states, right? So higher than us is, I think, Vermont, New York, and some other New England states, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island.
We're 6th highest on total.
We are right in Rhode Island. So we're the 6th highest on total spending in the country, but the 2nd highest on administrative spending, right? And so what we're talking about in this committee is trying to reduce administrative costs, right? So to me, this is evidence that we clearly need to. Okay. I mean, we could talk about, some other time about general costs coming down. Anyways, so on general costs, we're $5,000 a kid above national average, which is 30%, maybe something like that.
How do we get
Where's the number
5,000?
you're comparing?
Total, the very first column,
No, the national average number, please.
top line,
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you.
United States. Okay. Yes, Representative Lamb.
Thank you. For the administration, I was looking at the numbers. Were you talking about where our rank is in the general administration or the school administration? Or
The sum of the two.
those? Okay. that's
So
what
I had previously made added a column which was the sum of the two. It didn't get printed. I thought I had sent it to be printed, but didn't quite make it. So so you have to do it by yourself. One thing that's fascinating when looking at this, for example, is Hawaii. So if you look at Hawaii, all their administrative costs are local, and there's essentially nothing higher, and that's because Hawaii is one school district, right? So, so you see it in these numbers, right? But we are high in both categories, right? In both columns, we're high. Not as much as District of Columbia, but as much as others. Representative.
I think it's important to note and have on the record that while our per student cost of 21,700-ish, take the chair's word for us being number 6 in that ranking, but that's not predominantly state funding. It is the cost of education in New Hampshire, which is largely borne locally.
Sorry.
And if you look at costs in district throughout the state, they vary considerably because of our inequitable funding model. And I think that needs to be acknowledged.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Representative Lamb.
are we discussing the overall cost of education in the state of New Hampshire or who is paying the bill? Because that does not seem to be a relevant comment to me.
Yeah, it's all right, but I
been a lot
understand,
of
I
irrelevant
understand. I understand. Okay. Yeah, I mean, my point when talking about those kind of things is that all tax money comes from everybody, right? I mean, the problem is, the thing is, you know how much if you're not a renter, you know how much property tax you're paying, right? And all your property tax is spent in your community, okay? But you have no idea how much BET you're paying, how much BPT you're paying, how much, maybe you know how much real estate transfer tax and that sort of stuff. But those kind of things, the state level sources of income, to me, they come from essentially the same people. So, all right. Yes, all right. I'll let you have the last word. All right, Representative Bricky and then Representative, all right, Representative Bricky.
So if we're gonna talk about about comments being relative to our conversation here, I think we need to go back to what the 6 charges and the 6 charges and the purpose of what our study is. And while this is great information, it doesn't actually relate to what those 6 charges are. I think we need to get back to what it is that we were charged with doing and focus on those 6 charges, and have we met what was asked of us in those charges?
Okay, I'll just respond by saying item number 3 on our list here is about efficiency, right? So that's about spending, right? So, okay, why don't we go from that to the second thing I handed out. Now, it's long, but I found it really fascinating. So this is a report from 32 years ago, 1993, which is essentially a committee doing very similar stuff to what this committee is doing, which is looking into SAUs. All right. And this particular committee in 1993 was set up by the State Board of Education. So if you go to page 20 and look at the members, it's not all legislators. It's only one legislator. It's 3 members of the State Board of Education. It's Mayor Wazorek of Manchester, and 2 school board members and 5 others. Okay, so this particular committee did a study, and what's fascinating about their study is they concluded if you got rid of SAUs altogether and did everything locally, you'd save $27 million. So, which today would be more like 60. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, anyways. And they have a fairly, you can read it. They have a fairly detailed analysis of where the numbers come from and all that sort of stuff. But I just thought it was fascinating that, obviously we're not new in this breaking ground or anything like that in this area. Okay. Yes, Representative Damon.
I found this interesting as well. Thank you for the hard copy. A little easier to follow than for me online. Among other things, I would note that committee or commission, whatever it was titled, they were pretty thorough, more thorough than I believe we have been, in the nitty-gritty of cost savings. When you look at pages, where does it start? Page 31, Appendix C, and on for several pages, they were a good bit more specific in arriving at their conclusion of how much would be saved than what we have done.
Yeah, no question about it. That's why I wanted to hand it out. It's interesting. Okay. All right. So anyways,
Mr. Chair?
yeah, go ahead. Representative Bricky.
Well, this data is 32 years old. I found it kind of interesting that we would be quoting data that's 32 years old and looking at this data that's 32 years old, when I don't believe that we have looked at current data even remotely like we're looking at this. We had in the majority report, there's talk of how we looked at, how we discussed and looked at data pertaining to states that have already done this. We had approximately a 3-minute conversation about one state that has actually tried this. And we haven't had any discussion about whether, how they went about coming up with the process they used. I think that we need to go back to the charge and see that we have done everything that we need to do before we can make a recommendation. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? No? All right, Representative Dry, then Senator Murphy.
Thank you. I'm trying to find it now, but they met for a much longer time than
Yes.
we did. And I see what you mean, yes, and I think they had time in between their meetings also to process the information that was given.
Yeah, maybe, but anyway.
It was there.
Yeah, I mean, they had, let's see here. Well, all right, that's irrelevant. Senator Murphy.
Thank you. While the data itself, the numbers are certainly out of date, the lessons that are detailed in this report clearly have not been learned, and I think that there's some important lessons here for us. Page 2, SAUs are exclusively administrative entities, essentially autonomous, with little oversight of their operations by SAU boards. Does anyone believe that that hasn't changed in 32 years, that doesn't apply now? I think it clearly does. I heard that sort of information repeatedly, and I think we'd be in a lot better shape had this report been followed in 1993, and I hope we can maybe learn the lessons this time. Thank you.
All right, Representative Damon, then Representative Berkey.
I am going to respond to Senator Murphy's remark, assuming that that was not a rhetorical question. No, I don't agree that all SAUs have little oversight from their SAU boards. I, in fact, think there are many SAU boards that provide diligent oversight.
Representative Berkey?
I also disagree. Having served on a couple of SAU boards, that is not true of all SAU boards, and I take offense that he would say that.
All right. We'll try to avoid that.
Well,
All right.
no.
Yeah. Okay, Representative Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do the roles of the SAU boards, do they cover more than just the ability to hire the superintendent, or is there more direct oversight of what happens beyond hiring the
Well,
superintendent?
there's certainly, I believe there's at least budgeting authority. Yeah.
It's budgeting at different levels, but that's not the same level of oversight that you would expect in other areas where you're simply hiring and firing the chief.
Yeah, there's, as far as I could tell, there isn't stuff in the rules that makes an SAU board create this policy, that policy, some other policy, things like that, right? In the same way that school boards do. All right. So, anyways, let's move on to the report itself. First page is just boilerplate. Yes, Representative Damon.
I just need to remark in regards to the question or comment just now inquiring about the roles of SAU boards. The fact that we are asking that question at this point in our work rather
As
solidly
a point of
says
order, that was rhetorical.
All right.
rhetorical or not, it was stated. And so it suggests to me that we have not done our due diligence with item number 1 of the commission's charge, which reads, analyze and clarify the role of school administrative districts and local school districts. If we don't know what the role of SAU boards is, then we haven't done our due diligence.
All right. Well, anyways.
Excuse me?
All right, let's calm down here. So let's move on to page 1 of the report, just restating the Senate Bill 57, page 2. So page 2, I think, is the key part that if anybody picks this up, this is what they're going to read, right? So this is the summary. The committee was formed in response to Senate Bill 57 and looking for efficiencies and structural changes, okay? And looking at the functional relationship between SAU, school boards, and others. That's just restating the... No? I heard a comment here. Representative Bricky.
I don't believe that that thoroughly discusses what the 6 points are that we were charged with.
It's a summary.
I know it's a summary, but I don't think that that summary gets to all the things that we were supposed to do. And I think it's important that we spend time on all of those things that we were charged with doing.
So,
I'm worried that we have not spent enough time looking at everything that we've been charged with doing. And I can't say that enough times.
okay. But I will point out, we have spent the available time, right? So
We can always-
you can complain that I have not scheduled things
No.
properly. I mean,
That's not a complaint. I think that we need more time.
okay. Well, the law did not give us that.
Well, and actually they do, because we could recommend more time instead of, we could recommend saying that we need more time.
Well,
rather than wrapping
effectively,
things up.
yes, I agree, and effectively we have. If you go to the conclusions, all right. Let's continue. So we have a very high cost of administration, and we heard from many people in the profession who don't want changes, right? And I think that was the main message. Yes, go ahead.
How do you want, how do you want us to approach responding or discussing, like, I think there are probably remarks on many paragraphs in the report. Do you want to do it as we go through, or you're doing an overview and then we collectively respond? It's a process question.
Yeah, so if you think, feel free to interrupt me if you think that there's something that's strictly incorrect, right? And you know, we can get a sense of the committee on that. But in general, I would like you to produce a minority report.
We are.
Okay, good. So in that you have free reign to, you know, say what you want to say. Okay.
Okay, so then in terms of accuracy or appropriateness, the second paragraph of the summary, I think it is the last sentence of that paragraph is an inappropriate presentation of the professionalism and expertise of the associations who presented to us. I don't think we should identify that something is unsurprising and saying that we don't want them to, that they don't want to upset the apple cart is a considerable diminishing of the information that they provided to us.
All right. How did the rest of the people? I know. I mean, I added that semi-humorously, I guess, just to.
It's not funny.
Yeah. Well. All right. How do other people feel? Do they like this sentence or not? Representative Lamb.
I could see taking out the unsurprising, but otherwise, I do believe that the majority report represents the view of the majority, and the minority report will represent the view of the minority. My only concern is with the word unsurprising.
Okay. Others. Representative Dry.
I think we can find a better way to say it that's a little more in keeping with a summary.
I agree with Representative Dry if she can give us another sentence, but I don't want to simply delete the sentence.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So the main message from various associations representing employees was that change is not needed.
Yes, I'd agree
You
with
like that? Okay. Good. Very simple. Okay. Yeah, the main message from various associations representing employees was that change is not needed. Okay. All right. Yeah, no problem. One particularly, okay. So then I quote this 1993 report that and included it, right? Because it was sort of new. The reason I included it as an appendix is because, as far as I can tell, it's not available online easily. Whereas things like bills and census stuff, all that stuff is online. So, yes, go ahead, Representative.
If we're including that paragraph about the 1993 report, I think we should be stating that the committee did not discuss that report until after this majority report was drafted. We didn't work with that report at all. You sent it to us after the last meeting. There's been no discussion of it until now.
Yeah.
So how do we incorporate that in our report if we haven't used it?
I don't know.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm not convinced. Anyways, yeah, Representative Lamb.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we're here to continue our discussion and not simply decide whether or not we're going to be accepting this draft. I believe that we're having a good discussion now on the 1993 report.
Yeah, I mean, this is one meeting out of, what, 6 or 7, so, okay. I'm thinking we'll keep this. All right, next. Because I wanted to lead into this next paragraph, which is that we're coming to a somewhat similar conclusion, right? But instead of the state taking over from all the service aspects of the SAUs, all the business service aspects, that's what the 93 report says, is that instead we have a dozen higher level organizations, right? So regional organizations, in this case, counties and Manchester and Nashua, similar to House Bill 765. And so the point and that the head of those organizations would be elected like other county level officials, like county sheriff, county attorney, and so on. And so therefore, it gives the voters direct control over all levels of, except for the State Department of Ed, all levels of the education apparatus. So that's the advantage over what the 1993 guys were proposing. And the other thing is, if you read the 1993 report, I think what SAUs did at the time, they've had mission creep, sort of, right? The academic features of education have been moved up into the superintendent's office because they don't discuss that at all, right? They only say that the superintendent is doing the business type functions. And so we're trying to go back to that conclusion here. Okay, any comments? Representative Damon, yes.
So the minority over here vigorously objects to the idea, if whatever version of SAU consolidation were to occur, of the county school administrator being an elected entity. We do not elect county managers. We hire people with qualifications for the responsibilities of the job. The idea that we would have a popularity contest for the person in charge of this sizable business and educational responsibility is abhorrent.
All right. Did you want to say something? No?
I do.
All right, Representative Bricky.
I just wanted to say that just this year, one of the bills that was vetoed by the governor was to not make school board elections political. And I think that this would lead right into it. I'm still going back to that second paragraph. I still have an issue with that last sentence. I don't think that any of the associations actually said change is not needed. I think that what they said is that I think that what they did was they sort of pointed out the impacts of what these changes would be. So I'm wondering if we could change that sentence to be something like
Would you rather the word desirable instead of need?
no, I don't want, I think that I want something like the concerns of the various associations were expressed regarding impacts of these changes. Because I don't think that they were concerns, and they discussed what the impact, what
right.
would be impacted.
So we've
I just-
already compromised on this one. I think we'll move on.
Okay,
All right.
thanks, but at
Thank
least I'm on record.
Yeah, so go ahead. All right. And then the second part is what I just described, namely making the higher level strictly business functions and the lower level the academic functions, the school board's academic functions, in line with what we got from the school board, School District Governors Association. Okay. Now, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to note some considerable concern about our apparent reliance on the proposed legislation from the School District Governance Association, which in fact does not represent the majority of school districts in New Hampshire. And for reasons that perplex me, are not registered as lobbyists, even though they seem to behave as lobbyists.
Okay, I can explain at least that part. The people who wear orange badges are paid to do their job. People who don't wear orange badges are not paid to do their job. I mean, to do that, the thing they're, the organization they're representing don't pay them anything. That's the difference.
And the other part in regards to they are not representative of the majority of public education districts and SAUs in New Hampshire, and we are
Right, but
putting
they're,
an awful lot of stock in their proposal. I object to.
okay. Well, the majority likes them, so, and likes that proposal. So, that's, anyway. Okay, so yes, go ahead, Representative Berkey.
I think the other thing that we need to talk about is that legislation really just talks about what is being done once consolidation is done. It doesn't talk about how to get to the consolidation, and that is part of our charge, which I, again, am going back to the charge that we were given.
Yes, and that's more in House Bill 765. So you have to read the two, at some point, those two things have to be merged into a single proposal, and that's what I'm going to be working on next week. All right, when I submit stuff. So, next paragraph is about the timeline, right? So in order to have a new elective office, it won't be in place for November of 2026, right? Because we're talking about legislation that would pass in July of 2026, and therefore there isn't time to get, we passed the filing period for November of 2026. So that means that this office would be in November of 2028. So therefore, there's another 2 years of legislative time between now and then, right? And so this is where you ask for more committee time, right? We recommend that a special joint legislative committee like ours continue to work on fine tuning the proposal over that biennium, right? Go ahead, Representative Damon.
Thank you. So I'm happy to say there is a piece of agreement. We absolutely want a joint legislative committee, preferably one that more accurately represents the partisan differences. This is a pretty lopsided committee, to be quite frank. We do think that there can be merit in further evaluation of some possible model of SAU consolidation. However, that committee work should occur before legislation is put forward, so that the legislation that is put forward is based in adequately researched, vetted proposal, not a proposal based on a very incomplete committee process, which we believe is where we're at right now. And I do not think that the committee has had any significant discussion at all of, if there were consolidation, whether the administrator would be elected or otherwise how that position would be filled. So to put forward a proposal that talks about election timelines is premature. We haven't even established that the position should be elected, or we haven't agreed to a model of consolidation.
All right, Representative Dry.
Thank you. What are our options if we wanted to discuss anything further? We are done as of November 1st, and it's in. If you recommend-
There's a period where we can submit legislation until November 7th, right? But I think as the committee, I would do that myself based on the report, right? And I would invite co-sponsors from the committee, right, to co-sponsor. But the deadline for submitting new legislation for the committee is November 7th. But there's no meetings after.
the report has to
The
be in.
report is November, is essentially Friday is the report.
Okay, just one more question.
That's fine. Of course.
Asking for a joint legislative committee, though, is that we have no, it's just an ask, right? We have no authority.
Well, no, it would be a section of that piece of legislation.
Okay.
Right, committees are created by legislation.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And you could say, well, maybe it should be a commission rather than a committee, right? All this kind of stuff, right? But any legislation that comes out of this committee goes through the regular process, right? So it'll have public hearings, it'll have, committee votes, it'll have House votes, it'll have Senate votes, all that sort of stuff. And so, and certainly there can be amendments during that phase, right? Okay. Yes, Representative Damon.
So referencing what you just said about, as we know, the report deadline date is this Friday, November 1st. And November 7th is the deadline for LSR submission. And is it correct that any member of this committee can submit LSR in regards to the committee's work?
No, I don't think so. I guess I don't know that detail for sure, but it would be surprising to me if that were the case. Yeah.
So can we get,
Really committee representation.
if I may, can someone, Megan, can you contact the clerk's office and find that out so that we're operating with, because we're not
Yeah.
100% sure. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've never heard of, somehow minority legislation. Yeah, from a committee. I mean, I don't know. That seems a little odd. But
Well,
all right.
if I may, until we have an answer on that, it would be desirable for an LSR regarding creation of a special joint legislative body, I'm going to say, I actually prefer commission, to have that be a separate LSR from other parts of what you're presenting? Like, we
Well,
would support the creation
I understand.
of a continuing commission.
Sure. And I think, but my preference on that is no, because again, you can, when it goes to the regular process, you could amend out the other stuff and just have that or whatever. But I tend to think the whole thing kind of hangs together. And so, I did think about, what about two separate bills? What about the House Bill 675 section separately from the SDGA section? And, that's possible, I guess, but it seems to me that the whole reform should be treated like this is the reform. And it's too confusing to break it up too much. So anyways, I was against that. Okay. All right, next. Let's see here. Oh, go ahead. Yes, Representative Brickney.
I think that the, on that first page of the summary, down at the bottom, there's now a study committee looking into special ed. I think that you need to change that to commission.
Yes, you're right. Yep. Study commission. Okay, good. Representative Lamb. Oh, did you have more? Representative?
We also,
No, I'm all done for
Okay,
now.
Representative Lamb.
Looking at the second to last paragraph and considering that there's other cities of size, even though they're not as large as Manchester and Nashua, we do have several that are larger than the smallest county. I'd be interested in adding to that the phrase, including whether or not other cities of a certain size should also have the option provided to Manchester and Nashua, and the process for adopting that by local voters.
Where do you want to put that?
At the end of the second to last sentence, second to last paragraph. So that would be, this leaves 2 legislative years to fine tune this proposal. We recommend the special legislative committee, and then say to work on that for the next 3 or 4 years, including whether or not cities of a certain size should also have the option provided to Manchester and Nashua in the process for adoption by voters.
Okay. How about if we put that on page 8?
That works for me.
Yeah. So there's a thing here that's almost the same as that paragraph, but we could add something there about consider larger, consider more individual.
And I do think that
Well, we'll get when we get there.
it probably should be limited to cities, just because we're looking at a city structure, including the school districts.
Well, the only other, what's the third largest city? Concord?
Yes, but it's, Derry was a city for 7 years. Derry could be a city again if they so desired.
Oh, I see.
And if you're that large, it may make more sense to have the city form of government, which obviously would be a local decision. But providing for that in this process, and providing a way to vote for it at the local level, as opposed to needing to bring another bill to authorize cities of a certain size to do this, I think would be a cleaner approach from the start.
I see. Representative Damon.
the discussion about whether to give additional communities, cities an option reminds me that also the proposal from SDGA talks about county SAUs plus Manchester and Nashua, except counties greater than 100,000 population, which there are at least 3 of. In the language in there, it implies that those larger counties would have more than one SAU, but there is nothing, we haven't addressed that in our conversations, our research at all, and there's nothing in the report about those larger counties. And they have that larger population independent of the cities within them.
Sure. So I think Merrimack County, probably without Concord, is probably on the edge of that, right?
Oh,
With
we
Concord,
looked at-
it's a
There
little
are
bit.
four
a little while
counties.
ago. So
Yeah, Rockingham County is obviously the biggest.
Hillsborough, Merrimack, Stratford. So there's four.
Stratford's not that big, is
Yes,
it?
it is.
Yeah, we looked it up.
Okay,
115,
115, okay.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, but,
Which is over 100,000.
right, but under this proposal, Stratford would have their own, no? Or you mean breaking up?
It would break up.
The implication was that there would be more than one in counties over 100,000.
But the average is going to be like 120,000 per group in this. If you have 12
Average what?
Average what?
population of, so if you divide the state is 1.4 million. You divide that by 12, what have you got? You've got 120,000. No?
That's not the way the counties are. They're not divided by 12.
I know they're not, but I'm just saying. So Stratford would be kind of an average size group among those groups, right? The way this goes. Anyways,
Mr. Chairman?
yes, go ahead, Representative Lane.
When you look at this, the two largest counties are Hillsborough and Rockingham. Hillsborough is Manchester and Nashua, so clearly those were already pulled out. Then when you look at the next largest municipalities, you have Concord and Merrimack County. But in Rockingham, you have Derry with 34,000, you have Salem with 31,000, you have Londonderry at 28,000. There's a potential that if that scale of having an SAU that's larger is not as efficient, there may be some of these towns or cities that want to pull that out. So by providing a mechanism in this in the proposed legislation to allow those larger ones to step out, that actually would bring the size of those larger counties back down closer to the average.
Okay.
So I think it addresses that concern. And we're not looking at, you're looking at an adaptation of the SDGA recommendation. So I'm not sure why we're wordsmithing those particular
Yeah.
details.
But so, okay. For me, looking at the numbers, right, from the census thing, larger means cheaper, right?
We don't know that.
Well, look at it, right? I mean, look at, for example, go back to Hawaii, right? It's very inexpensive, right? I mean, it's at national average essentially for total administration. It's one giant district, and Hawaii is like the most expensive place to live, right? I mean, it's naturally, you would expect them to be very expensive, but they're not in this case, right? So clearly, you know, bigger, and that's the same thing. I mean, not just from this sheet, but from the other ones where we looked at a few different states, and the ones that had fewer administrative units had less expense, right? Because you have more specialization. You have you can share the expense over bigger groups. So. But the reason not to do state level everything like Hawaii is that you want some level of accountability, right? Of local accountability, and this particular function seems to me that a county is it's a nice organization that already handles significant aspects of government, and in a way that we wouldn't necessarily want the state to just take it over, right? So, you know, we don't, you know, like jails, for example, right? I mean, we don't. We have county level we have county level entities, right? We don't complain that somehow, you know, Salem needs its own jail for all people who commit misdemeanors in Salem or something like that, right? We are happy with Rockingham County size for that. Anyways, I think this is a level of detail that we should leave as is here. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Representative Bricky and then Damon.
So this has nothing to do with our discussion right now, but I did get a note back from Megan. It said that Paul says that only the majority report can suggest legislation during November 1st and 7th. And that was voted in rules last week.
Okay, so there we go. Thank you. Representative Damon.
So, two things. One, following on that information from the clerk, I would then vigorously request that it be two separate pieces of legislation so that we have consensus on there being a committee to study further going forward. And it is quite obvious that there is not unanimity on the other parts of the proposal. So I hope you can consider that. I don't think it's complicated. I think it's fair, to be honest.
Okay.
And separately, back on the county considerations, I don't feel that we have looked carefully at the size of student enrollment in counties and number of school districts in counties to consider if there's a county-based SAU model. Are they servicing similar populations, similar entities? And I realize the variables, as noted with Representative Leon's considerations of cities and who's a city and which cities might choose to be separate SAUs. Claremont is a city, Berlin. And then further with the county model, we mentioned a number of times in prior committee sessions, but it's not in the proposal at all. How are cross-county SAUs being addressed? There are many of them. I know in Sullivan County, there's at least 3,
Yes.
4, I think. So we need to consider what,
Yes.
we haven't
right.
orchestrated the how of that at all. And then I have just one more, which just sailed right out of my head.
I apologize. So House Bill 765 specifically does talk about that issue. So the downside of county level organization is that existing SAUs are some of them, many of them cross county lines, right? And so therefore, there would be a breakup, right? There would be a dividing thing. And the alternative is combining SAUs just into groups, right? I mean, just take these 6 and those 8 and these 12 and, like that. And therefore, the boundary lines wouldn't change, right? And so, so that's an alternative, all right? And I talk about that a little later in the report. So maybe we should just wait until we get to that point. But it is something to think about. And we did go with counties for a particular reason. So let's wait till we get to that. Can we say we're done with this summary page? Go on. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go on. Yeah. Yes, Representative Bricky.
Talking about the county level, Register Stacy, when she spoke to us, she had a lot of questions. She came up with a lot of county specific questions that I don't believe are addressed in anywhere in our in the report. I mean,
Right. But when I told her there would be a transition period of several years,
separate too.
all right, 2 years, well, 2.5, I don't know. There'd be a transition period that I think eased her mind, right, on that point. Yeah.
I did not get that feeling from her. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So next. So I just wanted to sort of motivate this. I added this, my favorite chart here. Okay, showing costs going up and faster than inflation. And I also put in text some stuff from this spreadsheet here about how we're the sixth highest in total spending and second highest in administrative spending. Okay. And that some other state, you know, you might say, well, our region is very expensive, et cetera. But there's some states in our region who on this list, in particular Massachusetts and Rhode Island, they're only a little above national average on administrative spending. We're 68% higher, they're 13% higher. So clearly, it's the administrative costs that are particularly high in New Hampshire. All right.
Can I
Yes,
ask what you're
Representative
referring to?
This page, this,
Okay, but that's not in the report.
yes, well, it is right there. There's a link.
Oh, okay. That's what I was trying to figure out is where
Yeah, the
it
latest
fell in the
figures
report.
available.
I couldn't figure out where it fell in the report.
Yes.
I do have a, are we on
Page 4.
talking about page 3? Are we done talking about page 3? Have we
Well,
talked about
It's
page
just
3?
this graph, right? And
The graph, except that I think that, as was pointed out, I think it was Mark Manganello who pointed out that NAEP is not given to all 8th graders and 4th graders. And in this case, we only, we have both 4th and 8th. I think that needs to be, it's not an indication of every student in the state. They're not required to take NAEP. They only, I don't even know what the percentage is that NAEP does
well, it's a sampling, right? So
so it's a sampling, so it's not every child. And there's no rhyme or reason of how they choose who's going to be tested and who isn't going to be tested. So I think that needs to be pointed out if we're going to use NAEP as a number.
But I mean, if you choose some group randomly, the chance that you've randomly chosen the best students or the worst students, you know, or significantly best or significantly worse, isn't very high, right? I mean, that's the whole.
I think that it needs to be put in there that they're randomly chosen.
Well, that's just part of how NAEP works, right? I mean, so if
But
somebody
not
looked up-
everybody knows that's how NAEP works, is what I'm
Well-
trying to say.
Well,
You didn't know
yeah.
that when we first talked about it.
True, but yes, but how significant is that, right? So,
Quite.
all right.
So-
Go ahead, Representative Damon.
Thank you. What I think is perhaps not random is the selection of presenting math 8th grade scores and reading 4th grade scores rather than both topics or subjects for both grade levels. I believe that there's a skew being presented here to show the worst case scenario. And I don't think that is.
Well, I think they do the same thing for every state, right? I don't know particularly why they've had this particular connection, but I mean, this particular choice, but it's not a different, you go to their website, they have for every state, right? And this is the one that pops up at the top for, on sort of the homepage for New Hampshire. And so you could go to every other state and get the same thing. Right?
I'm not talking about comparing it to other states. I'm talking about putting this in a New Hampshire Study Committee report, presenting incomplete, potentially biasing information, rather than we could easily present the fuller picture, which shows both improvements and declines. And if we're going to present information, we should be complete.
Well, there's an improvement in math from 2022 to 2024. So anyway, Representative Lamb.
Mr. Chairman, I think that there may be a reason for the different years because reading is a necessary foundational skill earlier in the educational process, because if you're not a competent reader in 4th grade, you're going to struggle with all the other subjects that you are addressing later through your educational career. Math absolutely has the foundational issue, but it's not just about the foundational math, it's also that higher math that allows you to function in society. So while I can't speak to the specific reasons why they chose that, I think that it's disrepresentative because if you don't catch up to grade level reading until 8th grade, you've lost 2/3 of your educational career.
Yeah,
So
I-
it's just a choice of how you present the data.
I think we may be reading too much into this. Let's move on. Okay.
I object.
Okay, you object. Fine. All right. I did put in this paragraph. You wanted more data, more detail. I only put in this one paragraph because we didn't talk about it all that much, but we did see a lot of reports about consolidation efforts in other states, but a lot of those were consolidation of districts, not administrative units. So first of all, in many states, they're the same, right? They don't really have a distinction like we do between what's a district and what's an administrative unit. So they tend to have much bigger districts, and therefore, the connection to New Hampshire seemed a little tenuous on some of those things. So, yeah, go ahead, Representative Dana.
So I appreciate in the second paragraph on page 4, the acknowledgement of contemplating not changing school districts, just SAUs. However, there's 107 SAUs if you separate out the charters, which have not been addressed in our work. And of those 107 SAUs, 81 of them are single district school districts. So whether we call it that or not, we are talking about consolidating school districts.
Yeah, the administrative part. Okay. Now,
It should say that here.
I hope that's in the minority report.
yeah, you can, all right.
So
All right.
it's misleading
Okay.
or not factual.
Well, I see. Yeah,
81 is, I don't know, what's the math? 2/3? It's a lot of the SAUs. It's more of them than not.
yeah,
We
I
should
guess.
acknowledge that.
Well, maybe the word changing you don't like, right? Maybe combining.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear what you're saying.
On the last line of the second paragraph on page 4,
Yes.
how about the word combining instead of changing?
We are in contemplation.
So
I don't think that's
the
factual.
point I'm trying to make here is that we're not going to have change 177 school districts down to 50, right?
We are.
So,
No, SAUs.
but but since 81 SAUs are single school districts, and we are talking about consolidating, sorry,
Single school districts?
yes,
Thank you, not schools.
no, school districts, many schools.
Yeah.
Or depends on the district. If we are consolidating to, how many counties do we have?
10.
10 counties,
12.
Manchester, Nashua, 12, maybe a few more if there are cities broken out or if we respect more than 100,000 population. But we're clearly profoundly talking about consolidating school districts. Because they're single districts that are SAUs, it's most of them.
Right, but it's the SAU aspect of it that we're combining, right? So it's not, we're not creating fewer school boards, I'm willing to changing to combining if you like that. How's that?
It's
Rest of the committee?
better, but
Is that all
doesn't
right?
really.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. All right. So then I talk about where we got the 1993 report came from in a little more detail about what's in it. Okay. And I'm indebted to Representative Cordelli for discovering it or whatever. And then this is all the notes. This was written by Ms. Four. The notes on what each person who came to us said. Okay. All right. I assume we're sort of okay with these things. Yeah. Anybody want to complain that a person didn't say what this says that they said?
I thought that was the part that was factual.
Say that again?
I thought that that was the part that was factual.
Okay, good. All right, so you like that part. All right, so next, recommendations. Page 7. So we said that,
Oh, can we change
yes.
Nate Green as a doctor?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay, we have a detail.
Nate is a doctor, not a mister. Under DOE.
Okay,
You're right.
I don't know.
Oh, and is it register, Stacy, or registrar?
Yeah,
It's registrar, right?
yeah.
register, yeah.
I was like, I don't think that's it.
Good catch.
Okay, registrar, okay. Any others like that? Everybody else is a
I think Mark.
Mr. and Ms.?
Is Mark Manganello a doctor? I don't know.
We might want to check everybody's.
Right. We probably should.
We only
Manganiello,
call him Mark. 'cause we
Yeah,
can't
I
pronounce
only call
Manganello.
him Mark. Yeah,
okay. So we don't know,
no,
okay.
Check
but you
this.
probably should
Question mark.
check, yeah.
Doctor. And Eaton, same or no? We don't know.
Which one's it? Oh, Brian's. I don't think so. Well,
I don't
maybe.
know.
All right, well, presumably they didn't, I mean, many who are don't
Right.
push it.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah,
We want to be accurate.
yeah,
as we can.
okay. Wasn't let's see. Okay, so back to recommendations, right? So here's something you can complain about, I guess. You can, so this is our conclusion, right? That we have allowed administrative expenses to balloon beyond what is reasonable and necessary, okay? And I explicitly say the majority here, is that we have ceded control of education to superintendents who do not directly answer to voters. And we believe that we can achieve cost savings and at the same time return local control of academics to elected school boards. So, I mean, this is our key conclusion. If you want me to state it in some other way, or you like this way, I'll look to my right here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Senator
I
Murphy.
have no objection to the way you phrased that. There was a paragraph here that jumped out at me on this 93 report. And it says, we have an educational system which delivers.
He's on page 2.
Page 2 of the introductory considerations. We have an educational system which delivers sensible results at a cost lower than the majority of other states in the union.
Wow. Sorry.
Here's where you're reading.
He's on page 2 titled Introductory Consideration.
Okay, and
Second paragraph.
Oh, not
wow.
page 2.
Wow.
It's page 2. There's more than one page 2.
Yeah.
We have an educational system
Let's try again.
which delivers sensible results at a cost lower than the majority of other states in the union.
Wow.
And you think about what happened in those 30 years. to get us from being on the top half to where we are now, and the sixth least efficient return
right.
on investment. So, if anything, I would say maybe we should add some part of the rest of that language. But I have no objection to the way you phrased it. Thank you.
Okay. How things have changed, right? Is that that's what you're saying? Yeah. No, I missed that sentence. It is maybe worth quoting. Where would we put it back in where the 93 section is, or would we put it, page 2? Well, that's the summary. So so it should go here, I think. Well, again, but it's more about other expenses, right? It's not necessarily just educational. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I guess I'm reluctant to
Mr. Chairman.
wordsmith on the fly, put too much, yeah.
I do think,
Representative Lamb.
thank you. I do think one of the interesting issues is I was looking at an overall look at school funding, school administration counts, student counts.
Yes.
And New Hampshire's explosion of school administrators has placed us in a point where if administrators now grew only at the population growth, that would have very little impact because we have so many more administrators than other states. And I think that this actually is a very important move to return us to that time when we had a more efficient education system. And I wonder just how efficient this would be. How many more people could afford their property taxes if they had implemented this back in 1993? Because that's when the explosion happened.
Okay. Representative Damon, then Bricky.
So several things. First of all, I would appreciate you not identifying the remarks from the minority as complaints. I think that's an unfortunate label. Moving on from there, the first sentence of the introductory paragraph of recommendations, I do not think is an accurate statement. There are many in the education professions who presented to us who are concerned about cost-saving measures and in fact work diligently on a very regular basis in very difficult efforts to control costs. Am I saying costs are okay? No. But I think we need to remove the idea that they oppose cost-saving measures. That's just not an accurate representation of the education profession. Would you consider that, please?
What if we cut out that phrase all the way and start sentences?
I'm sorry.
What if we cut it down to here? National figures.
All right, so you just want to say consolidation period?
Yes, that would be great.
Thoughts? Over here? Okay.
I think
I love that.
it's fine the way it is too.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Representative Dry.
what if we drop,
All right, one at a time. Representative
what
Dry.
if we drop the opening clause and then start from there, talking about national figures without attributing motive to anybody?
That would be appreciated. It's much cleaner and more appropriate, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
So the part before the comma goes away, first
Yeah.
line and a few words.
Okay. All right, I'll accept that. So it is clear from national figures we learn beyond what's reasonable and necessary. Yeah.
And then if I may,
Right. Go ahead. Well, let me think about
It's
this
really-
just a minute. The majority thinks that should do not directly answer. Okay. At the same time, return local control. Yeah, go ahead, Representative Damon.
thank you. It seems to me that it would be appropriate to acknowledge both in our discussion and also in some language in the report that the increase in administrative expenses is significantly related to increases in administrative requirements that have been passed by the legislature. So we annually ask more and more reporting and documentation and a variety of ways in which we impose work on education administrators. Whether any of us agree or disagree with those various statutes, they now exist. There's a lot more requirements than there were in 1993. I don't know how similar or different New Hampshire is in the amount of education reporting and administrative requirements to other states. But I know that we require a lot more now than we did 30 years ago. This increase in administrative expenses didn't just inflate a balloon. There are causes for it.
Yes and no, right? I mean, some of it is going from 67 SAUs to 107, right? So I don't know. I think Representative Bricky was next, and then Representative Dry.
I just wonder if, I know that this is the majority report, but I'm wondering if when the title of this could be majority recommendations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Representative Dry.
Thank you. In relation to what Representative Damon was saying, is that I wonder if the sentence does actually kind of say we've allowed administrative expenses in New Hampshire to balloon. We have. We've made more legislation. There are more expenses. It's not that we've given that they. So we've. You can read the sentence that would actually says that's what it says to me. We have allowed this to happen. Okay, there are a number of ways it's been allowed to happen. Some were deliberate and some were not. And so I don't think that there's any change. I think that your thought is in that sentence as well.
May I respond to that?
Go ahead. Representative Damon.
Thank you, Representative Dry. So I'm not quite clear. Are you stating or asking if the sentence already incorporates what I was?
That's what I'm trying to say, yes.
I would respectfully disagree that it includes that.
Okay. Any other changes to this paragraph? Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just actually want to back up what Representative Leon said a few moments ago as far as administrative costs. Senator Murphy and I were in a meeting earlier today about special education, and the administration costs for special education, according to the graph that we were given by the DOE, increased over 20% in year over year. So it was 5.99% last year and is 25.25% this year.
Just administrative, not services.
Yes.
And presumably we haven't added 20% more regulations or something like in the last year.
Not to my understanding.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, anyways, yes, Representative Lamb.
Thank you. I do have one last point. In 1993, that's when we had the first Claremont ruling. Prior to that, all of the funding was raised at the local level. So making all of those educational decisions purely at the local level was the right choice. Once we had the issue that the state was going to be paying for education for students all across the state, there was more of a reason for the legislature to set standards and requirements and accountability for that state money. With state money comes state requirements. I'd be happy to go back to reduce the state requirements and go back to a time when this is all fully local choice. However, this is an ongoing debate, and I think that we need to attribute the massive increase in state requirements to the requirement for state funding.
Well, I think, yeah, I understand, but I think you can overstate that to some extent, right? Prior to 1993, it's not that the state gave no money to education, right? They gave plenty, but it was targeted, right? It was not so much. It didn't have the structure of the adequate ed formula and all that kind of stuff. in the same way. So, I mean, you know, the favorite thing for the legislature to do is send money to localities, right? Especially the House. And so I don't think that changed all of a sudden in the 90s, right?
that's a factual statement.
It's anyways, it's been there for a long time. Okay, so we're happy with that one. Let's go on. Today, so structure. So
Excuse me.
go ahead. Yes, Representative Dane.
Sorry, I had one more consideration on the recommendation intro paragraph.
Okay.
I find the last half of the last sentence regarding returning local control of academics to our elected school boards where it belongs puzzling. Where does the majority think control of academics is right now?
Well, if you look at the things that, you know, the list we've gone over many times of what a superintendent does and has charge of, one of them is curriculum, one of them is, you know, discipline, one of them is, there's all kinds of stuff on
Do you
that
not
list.
see the superintendent as a local entity, a local person
No, they're,
in the present model? I'm seriously asking you to understand.
Right, so the superintendent is at the SAU level. What we're talking about here is the school board versus the SAU, right? Now, you're right, in many cases, it's the same thing, right? But it's not in all cases, and it's not in concept the same, right? So I guess the point is, if we're going to go from 100 SAUs to 12, we're not going to drag along academics with it, is the point here, right? You know, in my district, there are, in my SAU, there are 5 districts, right? So it's not the case, and the superintendent, essentially, we're so dependent on superintendents that we have 2 of them. We have 2 co-superintendents. So that they can go to every meeting, they can be at every, you know, every discussion at the school board. They run those kind of meetings. They're very involved, but they are not. They're not elected by my town. You know, my school board is elected by my town, but my superintendent is not, and so it's a different level. And I think that's what we're trying to say here is. Let's let the elected school board have more control without the superintendent, unless, you know, obviously a large enough district, a school board can decide we want a superintendent, right? We want somebody who's a little bit higher than our principals to do our academic stuff, right? And so they could easily hire such a position if that's what they want. So, anyway.
So I want to make sure I understand what I believe you just said. Are you indicating that in the proposed consolidated SAU model, the districts could then hire a local level curriculum person, aka superintendent?
Of course.
Then how?
They'll have responsibility for those things, and how they implement that responsibility is up to them.
I think we would want to evaluate that as part of our consideration of whether this is actually a cost-saving measure. If you add a position locally everywhere,
I'm not
we have
requiring
counted-
them to do so.
no,
Right.
but suggesting that it might need to happen. And again, we have not done our homework.
Okay. Representative Lamb.
Thank you. I think that the chair's point was overstated. He was not suggesting that there needed to be somebody hired for the curriculum, but that some districts may choose to do that. That would be voted on in the local district budget, and that would be something that would not be part of the state requirements, not part of state funding. But if that's how a district wants to do it, I'm not going to get in the way of local voters.
And again, this is something that I would assume the bigger districts might want to, for their own efficiency reasons, consolidate things, for example, share decision-making on textbooks and curriculum and so on across their many schools, right? Whereas some district that has just is very tiny, a couple hundred students, probably lets their teachers make some of these kind of decisions, and there's principals. So, yes, Senator Murphy.
Thank you. Once again, I'm going to turn back to what our predecessors did. Page 2, the committee recommendations.
You're enjoying this report.
The committee recommendations in no way limit the prerogative of any school district to retain the services of the superintendent under the new structure. The only difference is that the position is not mandated and its funding depends entirely on local discretion. And that's just,
The same page 2.
it's exactly what we're saying now, and they said it then. Thank you.
Yeah, let's find that. Where are we on page? Where is it?
It's under the executive summary page.
Oh, sorry, page 2 of 2. So earlier. Okay. So yeah. So the point is, there's nothing new, right? In this business.
The last paragraph on the first page too.
Yes, on the page 2 of 2. Yeah, the last paragraph. Yeah. I'm so glad I found that.
This is a great report. Thank you.
All right. All right, let's keep going. We gotta make progress here. So, structure. So I put these proposals. Well, I put some headlines here just to, because one is more about the kind of stuff that's in House Bill 765, and one is more about the kind of stuff that's in the school district's governance association's proposal. But I realize they overlap. Okay. So we can talk about the structure. Okay, so the structure is we currently have over 100 SAUs, and some have jurisdiction over very small number of students, right? I mean, you told me, Representative Dry,
36 in Cornish.
Cornish has 136
It's not a competition.
in there, yeah. So are they the smallest, or we don't know?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay. I heard from another rep whose district was also a single SAU district, and they had like 250 students or something like that. So there are many of these. I understand Coas County has 5 SAUs, for example, and they have very few, very small districts and so on. Okay. So I put here that we considered kind of 3 possibilities, right? One is the 1993 solution, no SAUs. Okay, state does the administrative function. Number 2, the combination without the counties, right? So take all the SAUs you want to combine, move them around so that you have a bigger organization. I mean, combine them such that you have a bigger organization, possibly with an elected head. Or the county solution, which is what we're actually going to be proposing here. And then I have some reasoning, which is we're picking the third option, creating county school administrators. Note, I don't call them superintendents, but while leaving Manchester and Nashua on their own. So there would be a change in the sense that such a person would be elected. Personally, and I think the majority agrees with me, but we can talk about it now if you like. Why elected, right? This concept that somehow the voters can't elect somebody qualified, et cetera, I mean, that to me is just a non-starter. We elect the governor. We elect all kinds of very high-ranking people who are very capable. We elect our county attorney. We elect our sheriff. We elect our county supervisors and so on. So the voters are very capable, and an election will bring out policy differences between the various candidates, right? And the voters should be able to choose that. Presumably, in this case, there might be some kind of trade-off between more efficiency and more services or something like that. I mean, and so that's something the voters can decide on. So I feel very strongly that having an elected head is a good idea. And right now, the superintendents are indirectly elected, right? We elect a body which then becomes a different body, which then chooses the superintendent. So it's sort of like, and we do that in other places, right? I mean, the treasurer, for example, right? The state treasurer is chosen by the legislature. And so, do I think that we ought to have an elected state treasurer? I wouldn't be opposed to that. Do I think we ought to have an elected Secretary of State? I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I don't think it's quite as crucial as in these cases. So, Representative Bricky.
I think that the language of the bill says that the superintendent will be elected by the county commissioners, doesn't it? Not by the
Of
voters.
House Bill 765? No. No, no, it doesn't. It's directly elected. Yeah. Okay. Like the attorney, like the sheriff, and so the registrar, and all those kind of people. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, the question of together with counties or separate organizations, right? The reason for with counties is to some extent, I mean, a county is a group of interest, sort of, right? I mean, you have some identification with your county in a way that you wouldn't have with just sort of a random grouping of towns, and just to make up a blob of a certain size, right? So that's one reason to kind of keep it with others, and also, I would think that by making this position another department of the county, you can take advantage of the structure of the county to run departments, right? The budgeting aspect, the delegation aspect, the accounting and other aspects and so on would be a help to the SAU rather than a hindrance. So that's my argument for countywide. Representative Damon.
At least in my area of the state, I think the alignment is not by county, but rather by regional connections among communities that share geographical landmarks, share school districts, share challenges. So, for instance, Kearsarge School District is 7 towns. 6 of them are in Merrimack County, and 1 is in Sullivan County, Springfield, which I represent. And I guarantee you that Springfield aligns a whole lot more with Merrimack County on just about everything. They, in fact, declined to have Welcome to Sullivan County signs because they don't affiliate with Sullivan County.
Okay.
And similarly, Washington, the town of Washington, lovely quintessential New England town, affiliates with Hillsborough. They're in the Hillsborough-Deering School District. They're in Sullivan County, but they're not really very involved with Sullivan County except paying county taxes. And I could evidence more. I won't take the committee's time. But I think there's many, many instances throughout the state that the connections are not county. Counties are not strong entities in New Hampshire for the most part, I think, especially in the more rural counties.
Okay. Any other comments about that? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've talked to other reps about their county level experience because obviously as a rep, everyone has a county level experience. And I do feel like Coas County in particular, they have a kind of community. Belknap County, I don't know. I'm in Merrimack County. I could probably go either way, I guess. I don't know. Any other thoughts on this particular topic?
I should have just concluded my statement by saying I really think a regional SAU structure with fewer than now, but considerably more than counties, would be a much better fit for much of the state.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason I'm strongly in favor of the county model is things like sharing office space, all that. I mean, if they were completely independent organizations, they would have to rent their own areas, and again, they wouldn't have the help. They wouldn't have the assistance of other both elected and appointed officials. So, anyways, this is the conclusion I think we came to. Yes, Senator Murphy.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to say I agree with you. You know, there's so many other responsibilities that are done at the county level. The lines are there. Everybody knows what county they're in. I think it makes sense to do it. If we didn't do it by county, I would be endorsing the single SAU statewide model. I think this is really as small as I want to get, as I can support going down to, even 50 SAUs. I think would be an improvement, but not nearly approaching the gain and efficiency that we would see with a county model.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a couple of people discuss, well, what about an executive counselor district model, right? 5 of these organizations, which would be some of these reports we saw about the sizing of this SAU-ish administrative district said that they reported that in the 25,000 to 50,000 student range seemed to be a sort of sweet spot for administrative districts. And so clearly what we're talking about here they're much smaller. That would mean more like 5 for our state or something like that. So anyways, Representative Bricky.
I'm not sure that the counties have the infrastructure right now to take this on. I believe that if the counties were tasked with taking these things on, more people would be needed.
Of course.
Which would mean more taxes, more county taxes, to pay those people. So again, I don't see any cost saving happening.
Just shifting.
Just cost shifting, yes, just cost shifting.
There's, again, instead of 100 superintendents, we're talking about 12 chief administrators here, county administrators. So anyways, we'll go, Representative Dry? Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you gave us the 1993 thing, because this looks like the kind of report that I would like to put out that talks about how they had robust discussions about all the things here. There's so much that we've learned in the last month that I don't think we've had the kind of discussion that I would like to have. This is provocative, and it needs discussion. And so I'm kind of feeling pushed into a corner a little bit to say, yeah, I like this. I like those 3 are possibilities, and there's a 4th, that we've all kind of, everybody has one in their mind for something else to do. But I'm not sure I could say, wow, this is the legislation that I want to sponsor and fight for and go ahead.
I understand.
So
Here's the reason, let me respond. So here's the reason to do something today rather than wait a year from now or something like that. And that is, we have to tell people what's coming, right? So we have to tell them, don't give your superintendent a contract that extends beyond the summer of '29, right? So things like that, right? So it'll take them a while. The more time we take is the less time that's available for the implementation of this plan. And so I think we have to kind of put a stake in the ground and say, this is coming, right? Assuming the bill, passes. There's obviously a big legislative process in front of us, but if it passes, then people will have that much more time to know that it's coming. If we wait yet another year, then that's a year away from them, right? Who have to make plans, and just to take a year more for us, kind of thing. So, anyways, that's part of the reason.
So-
yes, Representative Dry.
if I could, I would kind of like to add into that paragraph then something that says, this paragraph right before we recommend in the instruction part, something that captures the fact that we've got a lot of information that still needs to be analyzed. And this might be, say, a joint commission going forward is a good idea, or not a good idea. It's like mandatory because we haven't worked through all of these things that we've heard, and the fact that we have a special ed group that gets to go into July from the same bill, and we don't get that possibility. So just something that captures in there that this isn't because we've sifted through everything and discussed everything thoroughly, that this is the example that we need, but in the, because of the interest of the way the calendar is did and where this is put together,
I understand.
we're going that. Yeah.
Those kind of things that you're just mentioning are coming on page 8, okay? So maybe they could be beefed up in the paragraph called transition process, right? So let's maybe hold that thought for just a few minutes, and then we'll get to Representative Dane.
Thank you. I just want to note that the idea that we need to act in haste now in order to give SAUs and school districts time to change their operations, change their contracting. Because if we took more time and did this more thoroughly, we couldn't simply push back the effective date for their response. We don't have to do this in a hasty, irresponsible way. We could do it right.
Well, I obviously disagree with that characterization of what we're doing. Representative Bricky.
I just want to, the one and only time that we did discuss how Vermont implemented this, both Representative Dry and Representative Damon said that the reason that it failed in Vermont was because they pushed it through too quickly. And I think that we are following in their footsteps and could be facing the same outcome as Vermont.
I hardly think the 29 school year is right around the corner. Anyways, Representative Dry?
Thank you. That's part of what I was saying, but the other part was they did it fast, but they didn't do it in a deliberate manner. I think they did it just like, we're going to do it this way instead of this way. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important to remember, as you said, there's a long legislative process ahead for this. And there will be more information brought forward. There'll be more room for testimony and hearings before they actually, we get to a point where we're voting on it in either chamber. in its final form. So I just wanted to remind people of
Yes.
that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a kickstart. It's not necessarily the final thing. Okay. Functionality. All right. So this is where we move to the School District Governance Association proposal, moving the functions of the superintendent around, putting the academic functions, curriculum, discipline, hiring teachers back to the local school districts, and administrative functions, accounting, labor relations, HR, et cetera, at the higher level. And so really what we're proposing here is that the person who's the chief administrator is similar to the function of the business administrator we heard from their association, and not the full-blown superintendent that we have now. Okay. All right, and so we're going to include that proposed piece of legislation as an appendix, and I mentioned that some of these rules are, I make a little dig at the length of the rules that school boards have to deal with, and that maybe they should be treated more like charter school boards who have a little bit fewer rules. But anyway, so I'm not seeing any hands. This is great. All right, let's move on while we can to the transition process. Okay, so maybe this paragraph needs to be a little bit more, needs to be strengthened, right? I mean, this is, we've had many of our members here talk about this aspect of it. So why don't we read it and see where we can add to it. By the time the above legislation becomes law, it'll be too late to elect county school administrators in 2026. Therefore, they will be elected in November of 2028 and take over for the 29-30 school year. This leaves the 27-28 legislative biennium to fine-tune the proposal. We recommend that a similar special joint legislative committee be formed to work with the Department of Education, counties, existing SAUs, school districts, and others to work out the inevitable legislative bugs. Now, I think I should lowercase the word counties. Yes. Now, this is where we talked about Representative Leon wanted to add possibly including more districts, allowing cities to form their own districts. Maybe as an example of possible changes would be that, something like that, Representative Leon.
Thank you. Yes, and I also noted that this does talk about electing the county school administrators in 2028, but it doesn't say anything about the city. So I would suggest something along the lines to add. In regards to school administrators, we propose election in November 2027 for Manchester and Nashua, and we propose a process for other cities to adopt such a structure and role at a future date if they are larger than the smallest county.
Gotcha.
Or some similar words.
Right. Right. So the city administrator would be elected in 27. In 2027. Right. So the only change I'm contemplating for Manchester and Nashua is that the person be elected. Yeah. And you're right. The time would be 2027. I assume I'm right that all those, the mayor and all those things, those are all 2-year terms, right? So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And-
But it's on odd numbered years.
Yes, and further with what I had said on that and the process for the other cities, and then just making clear that in all cases, the change in structure would occur. If there's a change in structure, it would be a full school year later. So that if you had other cities in the future. I can get you some specific words either now if we want to try and do that, or by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, okay, let's, right, and, yeah, why don't you write up what you would like for that? And, I was kind of hoping to avoid coming back tomorrow, but we'll see.
I have a computer in front of me. I might be able to get that language for you and print it out to review.
All right, good. Other comments? Representative Drive? Yeah.
So let me take a swing at this. If you said something after this leaves the 27-28 legislative biennium to fine tune our proposal, this is where I might want to add something that much data has been presented that needs to be analyzed. The analysis could inform both the scope and the future of the legislation.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. This leaves the 27-28 legislative biennium to fine tune our proposal. Much data has been presented to this committee and needs to be analyzed. Such an analysis could inform the scope and the future of the legislation proposed.
Yeah. I'm not that comfortable with that. Yeah. I wouldn't put it in, in the legislation. So this is kind of like recommending what we're going to put in the our LSR, and I wouldn't put that as a charge for the LSR. For the committee and the LSR. I would simply say, work out transition aspects of this proposal, of these changes, but however that committee decides to do it. I wouldn't sort of try to say, go read this particular report or, something like that. I would leave it up to them to make their own decisions, I guess. I don't know. I'm not.
How does this not let them do that?
Well, you're saying that somehow we gathered data, but we didn't look at it, and therefore,
True.
Yeah. So I think we
Not for lack of
picked.
trying. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
we're at the time crunch.
We picked and choose what we found was important. So, yeah, I mean, it's. Yeah, I guess I don't like it stating it quite like that.
So are you thinking that I'm tying the hands of a future joint legislative committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. I mean, let me look at your thing here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really in favor of that. Others? Any other comments? No? Okay. All right. Well, let's leave it as is for now. Okay. All right. Let's go on. Or did we have more hands? Representative Damon.
Thank you. I'm trying to form how to productively say this. I don't think this paragraph titled transition process is adequate or complete, much like a lot of what we've done or started. Maybe that's how I want to say that. I feel like we started a lot of thoughtful consideration and heard from many informed people But the proposal that we received at our very first meeting from SDGA is essentially what the majority seems to be putting forward, as if none of the rest of the committee's work actually happened. And I think we really need this proposed joint legislative committee to continue our work to do this responsibly, thoroughly, and with some degree of assurance that it actually accomplishes what it sets out to do, which is clearly largely about saving money. And while that is important to do, it needs to be balanced with the educational impacts. And I don't think we've looked at that adequately at all. So to say that during the 27-28 biennium, this large-scale consolidation plan will be fine-tuned. Who is fine-tuning it? Who is doing that work? Who is really looking at the impacts in the process? I don't feel like we've defined the who.
It's the Special Joint Legislative Committee. And they can put in legislation, just like we can.
So maybe they'll put in legislation to take away what's being proposed.
Or change it, or fine tune it, or add this, or move that, or whatever. Yes, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's Representative Dry, I guess.
Thank you. So I guess my question to you is, how do we make sure that what we've heard doesn't get lost?
Well said.
Well, I mean, we have our whole, all of our records, all of our documents, all this sort of stuff. But again, I think that such a committee would start from whatever legislation passes as a starting point, and then move forward as they see fit, right? I mean, to tell them, go back and review, you know, what Idaho does or something, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, let's read what Representative Land has handed out here. Okay.
And I simply added that second paragraph. I just didn't want to put it into a vacuum, so I did not change the first paragraph.
Oh, okay. So the city, all right. So
equal in population? Or
Oh.
students?
Sorry, population. Although it says should be specified. So if we were to leave that, so if we want to discuss if it was students or if it was overall, we're talking about including that in the legislation. And I would note that, well, yes, it would be wonderful to have a 1993 report as our 2025 report. I think it's more important that we have the legislation filed to go through the process this coming year, because I know we would be in a better place if that had happened in 1994.
all right. So I guess what I'd like to do is move your second sentence to the other section, which is where they're doing the structure section. Right? So, because that's really about structure.
Where do you want to put it in the structure?
Um,
In the number 3?
Or
as a new paragraph, right? In the structure section.
Or if it was simply, instead of should, maybe specified, so that if that's decided that we want to proceeding with the option for these cities is desired, that can be done if it's a may instead of a shall be specified, should be specified.
Right.
So that we're saying that it may be an idea to consider in the legislation, but we're not wedded to it.
Where's the
Right.
me and Shal you're looking at?
The very last, in her sentence, She wants to change may, should to may. It's the third to the last word.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't looking that far down.
But to me, I think we could get this. I mean, this isn't that tough, right? I mean, I think we could get this into our bill. So, and I don't have any objection to doing that, right? So, why not put it in the structure section as a new paragraph and say that we're going to do it in our bill, right? I mean, that's.
Yes, I can add, I can look at. Sorry. Yes, I will pull together a new paragraph to go into that structure section. And then just having the Manchester one.
Right, and so the way I was going to do the Manchester and Nashua, I would say, in the in the transition process paragraph, it says, therefore, they will be elected in November. So I would say, therefore, the city administrator will be elected in November of 27. And the county in November of 28, right? So just add it to that sentence.
And would you have them taking over in the cities in the 28-29 school year or? just-
Yes.
Yes. So I'll add that and take over for the 28-29 school year in cities and 29-30
Well,
school year.
let's just do a period, right? Therefore, the city administrators will be elected in November of 27, period. The county administrators will be elected in November 2028 and take over for the 29-30 school year. Right?
That looks good.
Yeah. Right. So we'll just make it clear. Okay. So, all right. So you're going to give me a new paragraph for in the structure section. Okay. Good. And it'll be part of it'll be part of the real recommendation. Does that mean the summary has to change? Yeah, let's look at the summary.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Senator Murphy.
Just so we can understand the impact of adding the last sentence of this new language, it means that 4 towns would be eligible, if they were towns or cities would be eligible to have their own districts. So we're going from 12 to potentially 16.
So we're only considering cities, I believe.
Yes, it should only be cities.
All right. Well, that opens up then just to Dover or Concord or Rochester. So those 3 are cities that have more people than Coos County.
Yes. And
Okay.
also the towns could choose to become a city as well.
Right. I would only object to the word roughly. I don't like vagueness or uncertainty.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's fine. We'll take away the word roughly, Representative Leon.
Coas has 30,979.
All right, speak, all right, Representative Ricky.
Just to throw a little wrench in that, Concord includes 2 school districts. They are a city. They're one of the ones who could pull out. But there's 2 school districts there.
Okay,
2 separate SAUs.
2 separate SAUs, 2 separate school districts.
okay. So I guess what we're saying in that case is the SAU level would be correspond to Concord, yes? Or are you saying, or do they include Boscawen and some others in
So
those school districts?
Concord School District is wards 2 through 10.
Mm-hmm.
And Merrimack Valley School District is Ward 1 of Concord. And it includes Boscawen, Salisbury, Webster, and Loudon.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a difficulty. Okay,
That
Mr.
would be
Chairman?
difficult, yes.
yes. Representative Leon, then Senator Murphy.
I think I'm overcomplicating this, especially given that I have a bill to allow the town of Derry to take over the Derry School District if the voters approve. We'll just note that we discussed this. It has its pluses and minuses, and I can pursue that as a parallel path because this is opening up too many questions.
Okay. All right, so we won't
That's
make this.
withdrawn.
Withdrawn. Okay, yes, Representative.
Perhaps this is a moot point, given the last statement, but just to be clear, we were not proposing that all cities would be able to be their own SAU. We were only proposing that cities over what population would be their own SAU? 30,000,
Yeah, bigger than Coas County, I guess.
which is apparently about 30,000.
Sure. But,
This all seems pretty arbitrary to me.
yeah, well, I guess the idea is if Coas County is going to be an SAU, why not Rochester or something like that? So, but we'll leave that to future legislation should such cities want to ask for it. Okay. Now, I put in a paragraph here about special education. And the reason is that special education is very complicated. It's expensive. It's a quarter of the spending on schools, something like that. And in some sense, it's neither fish nor fowl, right? So in the case of, is it administrative? Is it academic? Well, it's sort of both, right? And right now, it's at the one of the things superintendents do is special education, because superintendents do everything. And so the question is, under this proposal, where we're doing business aspects at the higher level and academic aspects at the lower level, what about special education? Should and I can kind of see it two ways, right? I mean, special education involves a lot of specialists, right? So people who evaluate kids for their needs and create IEPs and all that sort of thing, that's a specialist. And asking, a school district of 137 students to have such a specialist, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But on the other hand, how somebody's taught once they, that's a local thing, right? You're taught locally. And so school boards and so on, I think principals and local teachers would want to be the ones involved in that. So it's a difficult question. And so I left it somewhat vague, right? I just want to point out that it's something that has to be considered, and there's a whole nother commission dealing with special ed at the moment. And so it's something that needs to be sort of brought in to this structure. And I'm not at this moment sure of exactly how. So, okay. But that's what this paragraph says. Thoughts? No? Yes, Senator Sullivan.
Just as a point of note, in the conversations we're having on that committee, I think what we will find is SAU funding. The funding should be done on the SAU level and the services on the local level. But also, I wanted to just set some people's minds at ease here as far as feeling like we've rushed through the process. This awesome report we have here was done in 6 meetings, and Mr. Chairman, you've had us meet 7 times. So I think we've done our due diligence. Thank you.
Maybe I haven't been quite as efficient or single-minded or whatever as the, yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah. I don't read a minority report in the in that report. Anyway, all right. So Yes, Representative Damon.
We would like 10 at caucus, please.
Sure. All right, we will come back at, call it, 3:25? So,
Thank you.
okay, recess till 3:25. Do we want to meet in a separate room for a few minutes? Yeah. Well, there are two caucus rooms, so we can use that. All right, we'll get started. Okay. We're waiting for, he's looking for a printer. Yeah, okay. So we learned two things. One is that Senator Innes and Senator Murphy and maybe others have put in a bill that is just about recreating this committee. So for those who want to vote for a bill that's just about this committee, you're all set. So there's a Senate LSR.
LSR.
There's a Senate, yes. I mean, that's assuming it gets through the Senate, but, it seems likely.
Well, I have to get through the Senate one way or another, right? Whether it
Well, it would
goes at
come to
first
us
or
if they
second.
kill it.
Well,
Sure, but they would have, anyways, you're rolling the dice in that respect. But the point is, there is already an LSR to do exactly what you've asked for.
But-
Okay,
but-
yes.
we would put one in this legislation. Yes, sorry. But we would put one in this legislation as well.
Yes, but the focus would be on improving the related sections of law that that are created here, rather than the more general study of the whole situation. Yeah. Yes, Representative Damon.
No, go ahead.
So two things then, clarifying
Right,
what you just, sorry. Clarifying what you just said and then a further question. So you're referencing the focus, meaning of the part of the LSR to consolidate school districts? Or you're meaning the focus of the Senate bill?
Right. The Senate bill is identical to Senate Bill 57, is what he
I'm gonna
says.
set up this.
The LSR,
Okay,
the LSR filed by Senator Innes,
I got it.
I'm told, I haven't seen it, right? It's the same as Senate Bill 57.
Okay. So I have a presumed answer to this next question, but I think it's worth asking. It seems like we lose a lot of time and perhaps some momentum and/or expertise waiting for either of those bills to work their way through our legislative process. So no more, at least no more formal, defined work would happen until next September, right? So my question is there any way at all to have some sort of, I don't know, adjunct committee or whatever it would be titled, that looks like us, or some version of us, to do some of the work that we've been talking about that we haven't completed much sooner than next September?
Okay, so I guess there's two answers to that. One is it's possible for the legislature, although unlikely, to speed up legislation, right? So it would be possible if you wanted to get going quickly for this LSR from Senator Innes to get an early hearing, to get an early vote, to come to the House in the end of January, get a, et cetera, move through the process. We've done sort of emergency things very quickly, so potentially we could get it through very quickly if you'd have to convince the leadership of both the House and the Senate and, maybe the governor to consider it a priority and do that. The other question is, in general, House committees can create subcommittees as they please, right? And that kind of thing. But, we're members of both versions of the House Education Committee. Generally, I don't think you can really create sort of ad hoc commissions or ad hoc, you know what I mean? That doesn't really work. So, but yeah. And I have a feeling, one thing, by the way, I should mention this, that we learned in the chairs meeting. We have a record number of LSRs right now, right? It's something like, including the Senate LSRs, it's something like 1,400. So, the leadership would like to encourage anybody who has an LSR, especially if it has not yet been drafted, who thinks that maybe it's not necessary, or maybe there's a similar LSR they could work with, or something like that, to withdraw their LSRs, right? Because OLS is completely swamped. They will have no Saturdays, no Sundays, no anything for the next month or two. So the idea of like doing more, it has to be done, but it's they're very, very. I guess the idea that during this coming winter, there will be, we as legislators will have extra time to work on side committee stuff. I'm worried that that's not going to happen, right? It doesn't sound very good. So, so being this kind of stuff really has to be more of a summer/fall activity, I guess. So, all right. Anyways, back to, so the one thing we talked about in our caucus that we'd like to do is make sure that everything from our website, all the input from the people who came and talked to us, be appendices to the report. So it may turn out to be a lot of pages, but we wanted it to be complete in a document. So here's Jen. So let me ask you, is that possible to take everything from our website and make it an appendix to our report?
We could put a hyperlink to the webpage.
Yeah.
Instead of all the different pages, we could just include a hyperlink.
How permanent is that? Is that a forever
I
thing?
don't think they're taking it down. I'm not aware of them ever taking it down. We have one from 2015 for dedicated funds.
Okay.
They don't move, as far as I know.
Do you have an idea of what the page count would be if we actually included all that stuff?
About a million.
Okay.
I don't have a good
Okay.
guess of it would be 100 pages. Or we do distribute the report electronically.
Right.
So it's not like I would be printing 7 of these out and putting it in a big envelope.
Okay.
But I also don't know how navigable the report would be with 200 pages of attachment.
Okay. So in that case, should we change it so that there's only one appendix, which is all of the related data, and therefore this would be a link as well?
You certainly could. It's completely up to you.
Okay. So what does the committee think about that? Yes, Representative Lane.
Thank you. And there also will be the folder of all the information from this committee so that can be requested in the future, correct? So that somebody wants to get the packet with everything that's been handed out. And if that's the case, if we have the link and we do that, then they don't disappear in the future. If 32 years from now, we haven't taken action. And if that's the case, then I think that just linking to the website works for the current term, and the research process works when my kids are my age.
So it's a physical copy?
So you're saying
No.
a hard copy?
No, I'm saying that because there's already the committee packet where all of this is retained and it can be found even far into the future, we can just reference the committee website and that information. We don't need to include it in the report in order to hold it for posterity, because that will be part of all of the information that's been collected in the course of this commission.
So then you're saying all that needs to be in the report is a link to the website?
Yes. Right now, we're linking to the committee website. We heard that there's some that are still live going back to 2015. My concern was that the internet's not forever, but the process where we have files that do last for essentially forever will retain that information. So we don't need to include it in the report. We can reference the website. And anybody researching this in the future can ask for the full committee folder or committee packet. Shake your head if I'm wrong, but.
I guess because I'm thinking about it, maybe the way you might want to divide it up is if there are specific documents that you specifically refer to within the report,
Yeah.
maybe you would want to attach those. And then also include in the list of attachments that additional materials that were reviewed by the committee, are available online at the following address.
Okay, so in that case, the text of House Bill 675 should, House Bill 765, right? That could be an appendix.
Yeah, I think for the convenience of a reader,
Yes,
it may be helpful to attach things that are specifically
Okay.
referenced in the text.
right. And then, you'll have a list of all the other materials that is there and links as Appendix D or something like that, yeah.
A link to the page.
Oh, just a link to the page?
Most of what happens, we have a link to that on the internet.
Right,
It's just one link to the page which lists all of the PDF documents.
but,
Have a link to each specific document necessarily. But
okay, but how about, but we should have a title and source
yeah, kind of like a
text, right? All the following documents can be found by this link, you know, Idaho school results or something by Sam Jones, right? You know, so all the big list, right? Yes, okay, good. Okay. Not just all documents are on this link, go look at it, right? There should be some kind of table of contents, right? Yeah, okay. All right, now Senator Murphy had something he handed out here. Written by your cousin or something.
Just plenty of Murphys out there. That's a bad thing. So this was something I asked for earlier, and I thought it would come in handy, but I think maybe we're past the point of discussing it, but I wanted to have the committee to have the information available.
Yeah, so this is essentially from that same document, right? It comes from this, right? This spreadsheet is where you got this data. It's just written in a summarized way, I guess. Yeah. Yes, Representative Leon.
If I may, I was just looking at a couple different places. I was pretty amazed to see that the average teacher salary in California is $101,000. And they have their cost per pupil is roughly $19,000, and their administrative burden's under $300 a pupil. So, you know, maybe there's an opportunity to pay teachers more if we're able to reduce the administrative burden in New Hampshire.
Well, also, they must have bigger class sizes.
Not necessarily. They aren't the 11 that we have, but they're not the 30 of my youth.
Yeah.
They still are substantially smaller than I remember.
Yeah. So is that the highest one?
Yes, that's the highest teacher salary. There's others that get close at 95,000 in New York. I saw 92,000 in Massachusetts and a 91,000 in Washington State.
Yeah. Interesting.
And with that, I mean, California is where you have the County Board of Educations. So they really have moved that administrative up to a much higher level. So they're able to really get that leverage.
Interesting. All right, yes, Representative Bricky.
How does California fund education?
From their taxpayers.
Like we do.
More specific.
Yes.
Property tax?
We don't know.
Property taxes have been frozen in California because of Prop 13, which has caused a huge number of other externalities. We can talk about the benefits of that on a different date, but that would be far outside of the scope of this commission.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, anyway. All right, so now, I think we're ready to now, did you want to, does the minority want to, do you have a report? Do you have it tomorrow? What do you think?
We have a minority report drafted. We wanted to not complete it until after this work was done.
Okay,
I expect it will be sent to the committee later tonight, contingent on all the competing priorities that are
Right.
happening.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to change it. And, you know, just do what a chairman does on a minority blurb, right? So
Which is,
you just,
that legitimate? I
yeah,
don't
you
know.
just, what you have to do is, if something is stated as fact when it's not fact, then you have to say, look, just put the minority's opinion is such and such, right? You know, and look for things like insults and, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to
Same thing
assume.
we did with yours.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to assume that you're not doing that sort of stuff, and it'll just go, you know, normally.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So let's. So what we're going to vote on? Let's just go through the report. Sorry, you have more. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just clarifying. The minority would like to come back tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We would like time to process and
Okay.
complete the work.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess
complete the work to the
that's all
degree
right.
that it's happening.
Yes, Representative Lamb.
My one thought was if the majority is ready to adopt the majority report, if then the minority report will be included as the statement of the minority, allowing the chairman to add that and make the editorial changes on people's titles. I don't know if that would work for us to be able to take that final vote, or if we're procedurally required to come back and vote on the minority report, which I won't be supporting.
Yeah, I mean, do you think? So explain why do you want to come back tomorrow? Let's go from there.
We would prefer to have the rest of today to process what has happened here and finish our report so that the committee is voting on everything
Oh, okay.
together.
Okay.
I mean, I understood last week that this was a work session this afternoon. and that The vote was
I was hoping,
tomorrow.
because we,
That it wasn't
Yes.
communicated that
Representative Leon and I have a conflict, but we'll manage it. We're only going to be able to meet tomorrow for half an hour, so, because we have the Finance Committee meeting at 10. So, anyway, that's our problem. Okay. Let's go on, all right. All right, so let's go through, I'm assuming at least one senator can be here tomorrow? Yeah. At 9:30?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you. So why don't we go through, just to make sure we know what we're talking about, we'll vote tomorrow, that's fine. Page 2, so we're changing the last sentence of the second summary paragraph to read, "The main message from the various associations representing employees was that change is not needed." Okay. And on the last sentence, last sentence of the page, we're changing committee to commission. On the page 4, second paragraph, we're replacing changing in the last line to combining.
oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. We are checking whether Mark Manganello is a doctor or a mister. Okay. So I don't know if Jen, you can call him or, yeah, try anyway. On the page 6, under Kathy Stacy, we're changing register to registrar. And we're on Nate Green, changing Mr. to doctor.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
She,
Representative Lee.
her title is Register of Deeds. That's how it's listed in what she does.
All right,
So Register of Deeds instead of Register.
all right, Register of Deeds, okay, fine. Okay. Isn't a Register of Deeds a registrar or no? I don't know, okay.
Not an
All
English
right,
person.
on page 7, we're changing word recommendations to majority recommendations. We are eliminating the first phrase up to the comma and capitalizing the word it. Okay. And on page 8, under transition process, we're adding after therefore, therefore, the city administrators would be elected in 2027, and period. And then instead of they, it'll be the county administrators.
Where's the day?
Well, therefore,
Okay.
right, the county administrators will be elected in November of 2028 and take over for the 29-30 school year. Okay, and then the word counties will not be capitalized. Were there other changes? Okay. All right.
Just
All right. We'll take a breath. Okay. All right, we'll close this meeting and I'll see you all at 9:30 tomorrow morning.